Welcome, everybody, back to the Friar Talk podcast and YouTube channel. So for today's episode, it's going to be a little bit different than most just because there was some outrageous stuff done today by the MLB media and MLB voting team for the MVP. And this is not the first time where there's just been like ridiculous stuff that has happened from people that vote. And so we're going to be talking about a few people that had some incredibly interesting choices for their MVP ballot that literally make no sense whatsoever. And in my opinion, is something they should potentially have their rights to make these votes and have the ability to vote these people in taken away because it's that bad. Like there are some of these ballots that you're going to hear that like make absolutely no sense. I get that some people do feel that MVP is something that, oh, you have to be a playoff team. We see that in the NBA a lot. However, in the NBA, a given player has so much more control of their team's ability to win. Also, baseball is one of the few sports where there's a legit stat that measures what your value is. And that's not like, only like look at that number. I think there's also other factors that go into who wins MVP, but like you can't just take a guy out of left field and put him in first place. And that's what kind of happened in the NL. Also, we talked about this before. In the AL, Vladimir Guerrero did not have all of the second place votes, which is also something that doesn't really make any sense. Dude, like was a threat to win the Triple Crown. And Isaac, I think you said somebody voted for Salvador Perez, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Not trying to take anything away from Salvador Perez, solid player, but like, look at the season this dude just had. So Brandon Crawford was given 4 first place votes. 4. I think these are 4 people that should not be allowed to vote anymore. Isaac, you have a list of some of the people that had these votes. Do you want to go over this really quickly? Because like, it's not just the Crawford stuff. It's stuff that is also like really, really bad. That doesn't make any sense. Final thing I will say is I was not someone that was like, oh, Tatis has got to win MVP. Like just being a Padres fan, that's not how I felt. I thought it was closer between Soto, Tatis, and Harper. And I thought that they all had a legit shot, but I thought it was very clear who the top 3 were. And I don't know how you don't have those 3 guys in your top 3 MVP. But Isaac, get into some of these so interesting selections.
Yeah, so I will say, like you said, Tatis, Harper, Soto should have been top 3 in every single ballot. I don't think that was a question. Harper winning, I think Soto should have won over Harper. I don't think, if you weren't playing at an all-star level, even a replacement all-star level by the time the all-star break came around, you don't deserve an MVP. And I'm a Bryce Harper fan. I really love Bryce Harper. I'm a huge Bryce Harper fan. Chase knows that. I used to wear a Bryce Harper shirt to school. But Juan Soto and Fernando were better for a longer period of time than Bryce Harper. Now, with that being said, if I'm reading off my phone, this is where I got the stuff. So, here we go. Brandon Crawford was voted first by Scott Miller from San Diego. Leave San Diego. Get out of there. Seriously, what? You voted Crawford, Harper, Soto, Turner, Tatis. You weren't watching the same games we were watching. Andrew Baggerly and Susan Scooser, it looks like her name is, both from San Francisco. Complete bias towards Brandon Crawford. Completely unfair. Just ridiculous that they even decided to show bias in these ballots, considering Crawford. I'm sorry, like Crawford maybe defensively is better than Tatis. Any other category, he don't touch Tatis. He really doesn't. I said, I tweeted out that Fernando's numbers with a 75% shoulder, with shoulder subluxation, are higher than Crawford's numbers. Slugging percentage, what is it? OPS plus, RBIs, home runs, whatever it is, except for like batting average and stolen bases. Almost every important offensive category is higher than Brandon Crawford fully healthy. He blew him out of the water in WAR too. So. San Francisco bias, that's just ridiculous. And then who's the last one? Rick Hummel from St. Louis. I don't really know what to say about this guy other than go watch some baseball. You're not watching, like I said about the other guy, you're not watching what we're watching.
Is this a really bad one?
Huh?
Is this a
Let me
really,
see.
really
Let,
bad
let,
one?
let me see the really bad one. Who had Tatis sixth? So, Jim Salisbury from Philadelphia. Harper, Turner, Goldschmidt, Riley, Crawford, Tatis. Look, I understand you want Harper to win MVP, but it's not cool to completely downgrade what somebody else did and put him in sixth when they're clearly a top 3 option just to upgrade what your guy did. It's ridiculous because I feel like a couple of these people did that. I feel like those people from San Francisco did that, putting Tatis. One of them put Tatis fourth. Another one put Tatis sixth. Crawford, Turner, Harper, Soto, Riley, Tatis by Andrew Baggerly from San Francisco.
Can you also go back from the person, was it from St. Louis you said?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have Goldschmidt at 3? And Riley at 4?
His goes Crawford, Harper, Tatis, Goldschmidt, Soto, Muncy. Muncy!
Oh man, some of these are so bad.
Oh boy.
Oh, that's pretty bad.
Turner's ahead of Muncy.
These people
Turner's
need their
definitely ahead of
these people need their voting licenses revoked. This is ridiculous. And I mean, like, cool. I understand Harper winning. Like, whatever. I personally think it's dumb. I think it's a lot of recency bias. I think it's, you could say East Coast bias. I saw people saying racism on Twitter. I won't bring racism into it unless I've seen past tweets or examples of racism being brought into it. I won't say that. This is just purely about baseball, and Bryce Harper only being good for 2 months tells me that, like, he shouldn't have won the MVP. Fernando also had a very hot 2 months in April and May. Like, he started April slow, but like all from that Dodger series up until the All-Star break, Fernando was the hands down, no questions asked, best player in baseball. And I felt like that was obvious. Chase, I've been talking for a little while, so we'll come back around though. Go for it.
Yeah, I was just gonna jump on the East Coast bias thing, just because we're on the topic of MLB voting. There is such a heavy East Coast bias, no matter what you do. Like, California teams and West Coast teams almost never get talked about, especially when it comes to like MLB, either MVP voting or Hall of Fame voting. Like, back in 2016, I'm just gonna bring this up because it still angers me to this day. Ken Griffey Jr. having 3 writers that said you're not a Hall of Famer, and then going ahead and making Mariano Rivera a closer, a guy that pitches 1 inning a game, the first unanimous Hall of Famer on the Yankee. Like, you can't do that. Everyone here knows that Ken Griffey Jr. that year should have been the first unanimous Hall of Famer, guaranteed. And there are 3 people that disagreed with that. But they went around and turned and said, you know what? This closer right here that played on the Yankees is. And we see this again. Like, Derek Jeter was unanimous, a Hall of Famer. Like, Yankees and the East Coast teams have such a more bias towards them compared to anyone else on the West Coast. It kind of shows again. Juan Soto had himself one hell of a year. He was just on a crappy team. We all thought that team was going somewhere. It just never carried any other way than just straight down. Bryce Harper had himself a hell of a 2 months. And we even said when we were talking about it, like, who's going to be the MVP? We talked about it. We're like, Harper could win it. It's between Harper and Tatis. It's whoever makes or gets their team to playoffs. Neither of them did. Then you should be going off of offensive stats. You can carry defense into it a little bit if it's really where their player makes their money. And then it should be mostly based off WAR. Because that shows you who is the most valuable player. It's wins above replacement, wins above a bench player. Tatis led the NL in it. Therefore, you can make the most argument that he is the MVP. If anything, Juan Soto probably should have won it. His on-base percentage was monstrous. He was always getting hits. He carried that abysmal Nationals teams to keeping their name on the radar. Because if not, they would have been like the Pirates. if not a little worse, because let's be real, there was no one on that Nationals team after the All-Star break. Not the All-Star break, the trade deadline. After the trade deadline, there was no one. Josh Harrison was gone. Starling Marte was gone. Scherzer was gone. Turner was gone. Daniel Hudson was gone. There was no one on that team. And they still continued winning games. So you can definitely make an argument for Juan Soto. You can definitely make an argument for Harper. You can't make an argument for Crawford. He had a good year. He had a great year. He had a career year for him. But that's still nothing compared to those other three guys. Austin Riley, yeah, he's on a winning team. He was more valuable in the playoffs than regular season baseball. And you can't carry playoff bias into this. Because if not, Jorge Soler would be the MVP of the league. Like, you can't do that. And it shows East Coast bias. I mean, who won the Cy Youngs? It was guys on the East Coast. When there were some guys on the West that practically the same year. Only way you can run it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like some of this stuff is really, really bad. Like some of the voting. The Ken Griffey Jr., Mariano Rivera thing is really ridiculous. Like, who's a more valuable player? Who's a more important player to the MLB and MLB history? There's no way that you're going to say that it's Mariano Rivera more than Ken Griffey Jr. So that one is just also like your first unanimous MV or Hall of Famer is going to be a closing pitcher, like you said. Like, what? That's so strange. I just don't get it because like when people come and like put these like ridiculous things where they have like Tatis at 6, like, you guys joking? Like, because he had a lot of errors. Well, guess what? He was graded better as a defensive player than both Juan Soto and Bryce Harper. You know what I mean? Like, he has more defensive run save than both of those players. Yes, he has a bunch of errors. It's because he has the worst fielding first baseman in the MLB. Like, that's the reason he has so many errors. Watch Hosmer. If you go and watch Hosmer consistently, night after night, try to pick baseballs, you will understand why Fernando has so many errors. You will also see that Manny Machado, who is a Gold Glove finalist, had like 13 or 16 errors this year. Like, he had a lot of errors, but he was still graded ridiculously high as a defender. Did Tatis slump at times in terms of defense? Yes, definitely. But it's not like that pushed him down to 6th. No, there's no way. I think that I would probably go with Soto as the MVP. And I think I might put Harper over Fernando Tatis. However, I think the gap from the top 3 to anybody else is very, very large. It is like the gap of Ohtani to Vlad Jr. Like, it's a big gap. There's no one else in the discussion. That's why Ohtani's unanimous. These 3 guys should 100% be unanimous. And the fact that they're not is just, it's really stupid because it's literally people just trying to be like Bob Nightingale, like put something ridiculous. And it's like, oh, nice. Like, go get those clicks. It's just like, it just sucks. And we are talking about it, but we're talking about it in just terms of how ridiculous it is. And also letting you guys know, like, who are the people that are literally just completely talking out of nowhere. And like, apparently don't watch the games. I don't know what to tell you. Like, there's no way that you can go through like, and like have some of these takes where it's like ridiculous ones. Like, I don't think like, okay, if you think Crawford had a better year than Tatis and you're going to move him 1 over, like, yeah, I think you're wrong. But that's a lot different than saying that Crawford had a better year than Fernando, Juan Soto, and Bryce Harper. Like, there's no way. Like, come on, I don't know. I just don't get it. But I don't know. What else you guys got to say on this?
Yeah, Bob Nightingale put Crawford at 2nd, and there's a reason why he's probably the biggest joke of people treat him as the biggest joke of an analyst on Twitter. Where, I mean, I don't want to say poor guy because it's not like I like him the most either. But, it's just ridiculous what some of these people put out. Like, I'm looking at it right now. Nightingale put Crawford 2nd. Who else put Crawford? Like, some other Nightingale put Crawford 3rd. Someone put Turner 3rd. And I guess Turner's okay. Turner had himself a solid year. He was one of the highest shortstops, or one of the highest. I think he had one of the highest WARs in the NL. I actually think he was top 3. So that's all right. But like I see Crawford second from this is John Heyman, of course. It's John Heyman. What do you expect? But Harper, Crawford, Soto, Tatis was John Heyman's. Like some of these takes are just blasphemous, and you look at the possible reasons why they bumped Fernando down. They probably say errors, and like Matt said, Soto and Harper I believe both had negative defensive runs saved, and despite all the errors Fernando made, he was still positive. And a lot of them you can't contribute to Eric Hosmer being really bad. And I think that's an understatement. However, I mean, I guess Harper winning is all right. I do, like I said, I really like Bryce Harper. I just don't think he was good enough for a long enough period of time. And people were saying he was the reason that the Phillies were in that playoff hunt. Well, you could say the same for Fernando. The reason they were winning a bunch of games at first was because he was hitting a bunch of bombs, and I think it's just really unfair to put him anywhere outside of third. And especially if you're putting somebody like Crawford there, I don't think Crawford is of course Crawford is a huge piece of the Giants. He's quite arguably the biggest, but is he as valuable as Tatis? Probably not. I don't really know what else to say. Like Fernando I wouldn't say he got robbed because he wasn't going to win it anyway. But go for it, Matt.
I was just gonna say, I feel like he's just got like very disrespected.
He got heavily
by like a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't know why, but like pretty ridiculous. And I would say Soto in some cases too. Harper not as much, but Soto definitely did too. Like Soto had a 999 OPS and got on base over 46% of the time.
Yeah, and it's go for it.
I was gonna say that's absurd.
Yeah, and Brandon Crawford didn't even have over a 900 OPS. It seems like these votes were heavily judged based off offensive production. And like I said, I think I said this before we started. All these votes are going to be based off offensive production, of course. But I feel like those that put Crawford over Tatis looked mainly at that defensive production, failing to realize that Fernando still produced positive defensive runs saved. And that, like you said, like we brought it up earlier, Soto and Harper both produced negative. And so I don't get the argument. There's really no argument that can be made. Crawford only played 8 more games than Fernando. So the whole, Fernando missed too many games thing, so I'm going to put Crawford ahead of him. You can't really say that. He only played 8 more games. And Fernando still almost doubled his home runs. I know home runs aren't everything, but slugging, OPS, whatever it is, he beat him in those stats still, and WAR. If you're getting beat by somebody that heavily and you played 8 more games in the WAR category, why are you even in the discussion? Like nobody even thought Brandon Crawford was going to be in the discussion. But obviously, I'm a huge Tatis homer. You guys could tell. Talked too much. Tatis deserved. I thought Tatis should have won it. I just thought, if not Tatis, Soto. But Fernando got jobbed, man. Fernando got jobbed and heavily disrespected by some of the top analysts in baseball. And there's got to be a different way to vote for these awards, because the way these analysts are voting is just wild. That the opinions they have.
Chase, anything else you got? Sorry for the long pause.
I was just gonna say, man, like you see these things. It happened with Goldschmidt a few times. Like it's just a heavy East Coast bias. That's all.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's gonna do it for us today. Kind of long topic. Hoping we were gonna get to that a little bit earlier, but just couldn't quite find a time. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be posting on Friday, Saturday, and then also Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Us 3 are going to be going live. Chase is finally able to make it, so exciting stuff there. But that is going to do it for today's episode. So thank you all for listening, and we'll be back. Let us know what you think about this MVP award and like voting too, because I don't know. It's just, to me, it was pretty like ridiculous, some of the stuff. So
shout out Kevin Acey. He voted for Tatis for first, so
he did.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
That was sick. Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening, and we'll be back and talking to you guys very soon.